Okay, so I was out here in the shop machining a part, and I happened to go in the house for something, and I noticed on the computer I was uploading a video, and I went in to check to see how far along it was, and I noticed I had a comment on one of my videos, so I checked out what it was in the notifications window, and it was a buddy of mine made a comment on how clean my table was at the beginning of every job I started. And he was wondering if I was polishing the table behind everybody's back just to keep the machine looking good. It was kind of funny. No, Sam, I'm not polishing my table behind everybody's back. I do, however, try to clean up the machine every time I get done machining something at the end of the day or whatever. If I only machine one part, when I get done with it, I try to clean the machine up. I wash it down with the flood coolant. I just take the, well, I'll show you guys. I'll kind of clean up right here just so everybody can see what I do to try to help protect the table as much as I can. Can't do much about the vise area unless I take the vise off every single time. It's a big job to take the vise off and, you know, retram it in and all of that, and it's kind of a pain. It's not a bad idea to do because for the simple reason it will help keep the rust from getting too far out of control. It was kind of funny. He had mentioned to me one time before about how clean the table was, and I told him then that I just kept it clean. I tried to keep it clean, and that's basically all I do is try to keep it clean. My shop used to be not as nice as it is now. I used to have just a kind of humid. Things would sweat. The temperature changes would make everything sweat. I used to have to stay on everything, keep a good coat of oil on everything, and keep that moisture from getting into the table and rusting the table. And I was having a lot of trouble with that. And that was when I first got the machine, I was having a lot of trouble with that. So when I worked on my new area that I was going to consider to be my area to do all my machining in and stuff, keep the mill in and all of that, I tried to make sure that the moisture would be kept to a minimum as much as possible. I coated my floor with epoxy, sealed it. That helps keep out a lot of moisture coming out of the concrete, getting into the atmosphere. It's better insulated in here. It's just closed up better. It's not as open as the other area was. There was a lot of drafts and little leakages, you might say, that outside air could kind of infiltrate in and bring moisture with it and whatnot. So, and I think the largest contributor to the moisture was concrete, the moisture coming up out of the concrete, along with changing my coolant. Everybody makes fun of this coolant, but it's slippery as all get out. I mean, you get it on your fingers, you try to get a hold of anything after you get it on your fingers, it's slippery. It's amazing how slippery it is. Now, whenever I'm cleaning the machine up, I get exposed to the coolant, machining the parts and stuff like that, because it's just so uncomfortable for me to wear gloves while I'm doing stuff like that. I I hate to use gloves while and it just makes it even slipperier. But handling parts and stuff like that with these gloves on, it's hard to hold on to them, and it's just hard to get the feel of the part and know you have a hold of it. And I spent a lot of time doing the tool paths and to get the part, and you got so much time invested in it, and you drop it on the floor and it gets dinged all up, and it's kind of disheartening. So I try not to handle the parts with gloves on and stuff, and it's probably not that great for you. But basically I just try to clean up as good as I can. So I don't have a wash down system, so what I do is I just use my flood coolant pump. And I just turn this thing on and give it all it's got. And with two hoses going at one time, sometimes it's not enough. There's not enough pressure there to accomplish what I'm trying to do. So what I'll do is I'll just plug one of them up, and you can see it intensify there a little bit. And if that one's got a little bigger hole in it, then I try the other one, and it's got a little smaller hole, so it'll get a little more pressure on it. So basically I just use the two in combination to get something going on, to get the chips to wash away. They're a little stiff and aggravating. I need to make a wash down. Is what I need to do. It would be a lot easier, a lot quicker, a whole lot better. But I get it done anyway. And just wash everything down is basically all I do, is get rid of as many chips as possible. And I know everybody's seen me fidget with the paintbrush, cleaning chips out, and it's just a habit I got. I figure if I clean it out while I'm machining as much as possible and keep everything cleared out as much as possible while I'm working, then at the end of the job I'm a little bit up on the game when it comes time to clean up and get things straightened out and ready to, because I don't work during the week. I don't mess around in the shop a whole lot. I don't have a whole lot of time during the week. My job is, I go to work, I leave home at 4:45 in the morning, and I get home about 5:15, 5:30 in the afternoons. And the wintertime, by the time I get home, it's dark. It's getting dark. And I run around this plant all day long and chasing fires, putting fires out. That's what we call it, putting fires out. Everybody's got something for the jigs and fixtures guy to do. So I don't get much done during the week. In the weekends come, I'm out here quite a bit doing things. So the machine has to sit all week. I've found this coolant has a rust preventer in it. The base lubrication of the coolant, when the water evaporates, goes away, what's left behind is the actual lubricants that are in the coolant itself. And they I'll get you back here a little bit so you can see what's going on. But they put that stuff in there so that when the coolant evaporates or dries, or however you want to word it, it'll leave a film behind, and it coats the surfaces of the machine. As long as nothing is there to run it away or to prevent it from making that protective film, laying that protective film down, So anything that's not painted, or it's like your ways and the tabletop and the ways, these painted surfaces, eventually some of these coolants will eat it away. Like if you notice in the back here, it looks pretty nasty back here. The paint's coming off, and it's from the coolant. I don't know, there might have been a scratch up there or something, and the coolant has gone in there and got in the paint, and it's gradually eats it right off of the surface. All up underneath of the head of the machine, the gearbox up here, all of the paint is off of that. But it's not rusting because this stuff leaves this film behind, and it protects it, keeps it from rusting. And if there's anything laying on that surface that you're trying to protect, it'll run that coolant or that protectant away. Just the sheer weight, even though it's not that heavy, it's heavy enough laying there over a period of time. It'll make complete contact with that table, and it will run all of that oil and whatever. Even if it's a drop of water, if you get a drop of water on your table in the middle of that coolant right there, that water weighs more than the lubricant that's in that coolant. So it will run that protectant away from that area where that drop of water is, and it'll rust there. Not only because there's water there, but because there's no protectant left behind there. So what I'll do is I'll just get all the chips off that I can, clean it all off, get rid of them. Now inside the vise, I try to keep it cleaned out a little bit. I mean, you can't get them all out. I mean, it's just about impossible. But there's a hole in my vise that it used to have this vise used to pivot when the machine was manual. I had it so I could do angles and stuff pretty simply, and it's got a hole in it. So coolant, chips, whatever gets down in that hole and plugs that hole up, and lo and behold, it's right above T-slot. So all of that stuff gets trapped underneath the vise, and that's one place that's very vulnerable to rusting, because you can't get at it, you can't get those chips run out of there, you can't keep anything in there to protect it. Now this time I used some STP underneath the vise, and I've been looking at it around the edges of the vise, and it's been in there probably a couple of months now, and I've just started to notice that around the edges down here it's starting to look clean again, where the STP squeezed out from underneath the device onto the tabletop. Even though I wiped down that side with a rag, it still had just a little tiny layer of that oil. And underneath it, even underneath the here, I put some underneath the here, all over it underneath the here. Now it's still on that surface. It's still gummy underneath of there, where that STP is still laying underneath of there. So there's no rust underneath of there on that surface. And I'm hoping that underneath the device down in there, I'm hoping that it is doing a better job. I was using whey oil, and it was doing a decent job, but it was washing off way quicker underneath of here than what this STP is. It's still, I can still feel it. I mean, it's gummy under there from the STP. feels just about like it did when I put it on there.